Hello and welcome to everybody. This is Karen and this is our Art Lift video. Now this is term 3 and this is week 7, week 7. So this is the last painting week that we're doing, and then we'll be moving on to the clay. But we have been doing the works with the... Well, I'll just show you these. This was the last video that we did, and the one previous to that was that one. So what I wanted to do was to have a play, because there were so many elements to work through with this. I thought that it would be just fun to have a play with the materials. So you'll see here, this is me just kind of practicing and playing. So this is the cheaper paper from your sketchbooks that I gave you. So if I bring this up here, you'll see why I'm excited about this, because this is a bit of orange and red, and it's just using a credit card and kind of spreading the paint onto the paper. And the lovely thing is that you just get great depth with it, and I just wouldn't use anything on top of that because it just has a lovely depth of color there. Here's another one. So and I will show you how to do this. I just kind of wanted to show you what we were aiming for first of all. So on this one, again, just spreading spreading the paint with a credit card, and then I painted in these eyes with a paintbrush. And this fella here has, again, just the same thing, and that painted in. And then I've used the back of a paintbrush and dipped into the colour and just done spots on top of this fella here, and that's very effective. And on this fella, I wanted to try and get just some kind of corners, so I dipped into the blue paint and just kind of dabbed them on like that, which gives him a kind of feeling of that. So there's some. I'm just going to show you some more on here, and then I'll actually start and show you. So here's another one, and what I did with this was to use the inside of a pen. Yeah, I know, I have stolen that from here. Not I'm going to tell you even whose it was, because you'll only go and tell them. So this is just white paint, you know, taken like that and dabbed like you would print. And this is exactly the same one, but only dabbing in half of it. So you're just literally dabbing half of it on like that, and it just gives you some nice kind of scales. So there are two different ways that I've laid the paint on, and I'll show you when we do that. So this was just trying to get a bit of a flow on all of them like that, and then this one I kind of put it on and then kind of brought the paint that way like a squeegee and brought the paint that way. And you'll see there as well, those kind of lines are indicative of the direction that I drew the card in. It wasn't this wide one, but you know what I mean. I just did it like that. And again, this little fella here. And sometimes you get happy little accidents, because I really like the way this little bit here has happened around the eye. It wasn't intentional. But sometimes then when you're coming back to put in eyes and different things, you kind of go, oh, actually, that's really good. And if I put the eye there, then it'll have the feeling of it all being part of the design. So it's about just being open to what you do, how you do it, and just having a play. And then I put in these little fellas, just these little fish here. And how these eyes are done was... which side? One of those? I think it was one of those. So I dipped that side of the pen into the green and got the ring, those rings, and then I did just the end of a paintbrush for the blobs of the black that are on there and also on there. And on here I just have a mixture of yellow and green. So that's the kind of basic thing. So what I have done, I'll come back to this one. These are a bit scary, I know, but I just wanted to do something that was really free. But the more kind of particular you are, the more controlled you can get. But this one, I just kind of wanted to make something that just was a little bit wild, to kind of play with the differences, just so you could see really. So what we did on this one, that's the royal we, as in me, myself and I, is I did exactly as we did on the other ones, where we wet down the paper and allowed it to go to the side and allowed it to drip and play and, you know, just have some fun with it. The other thing that I did that just to kind of spice things up a bit was, you'll see I've just kind of literally, when I had paint on the paintbrush, that's dry, just checking, I literally went, when it was still damp, I just went like that. So you can just flick it on like that, or you can hold your finger and just tap it like that. So just try it, see what happens. You might say, oh, I'm not actually all that keen on those splashy bits. I'd rather it just was a lot more fluid. So it's whatever you fancy. So without further ado, I have put out some yellow, some orange, some red, and some white. And I still have these little credit card pieces, or WH Smith card pieces. And what I'm going to do is just play like the fish are swimming across here. So I'm going to just sit myself down here. Now, what I do like to do is to take up a couple of different colours, because it gives me a little bit of play really. So I'm just going to take a bit of both of them. So they're not mixed, but they're just put together. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going for a kind of line dipping back in, and I'm going to allow this just to kind of come off the side. And I'm going to just drag it. So I have that kind of outside line. I'm just going to finish off what's on there on the colour. And I'd like to have a little bit more. I'm going to take a bit of red and a bit of yellow here and just kind of go on the underneath bit here. So I'm going to aim at having the underside just like that. And I just love the kind of colours that you get through that. And I'm kind of in particular wanting to just kind of have a bit of a mouth there, and then I can either, ooh, that's quite nice, isn't it? You can play with what's on there like that. Make sure that you bring it to the end. And if you think, yeah, it's okay, but it's, you know, I want to do the, I'm not quite sure, you know, just play. I'm taking a big wallop of that white there, and I'm just going to give him kind of like two little stripes. So you'll notice that I'm going to move on to the next one without putting in any of the eyes and the fins and tail. So I'm just going to wipe that off there because I may want to come back to that. Next one, I'm going to go for much more yellow, and I'm going to allow this one to kind of be all the way through. I'm going to avoid that little bit there at the moment because the yellow won't be strong enough to cover it all. So I'm just going to bring that all the way across like that in the same way, and this one's going to be just a little bit smaller. Just going for a smaller fish, and I'm going up here, a bit more yellow. And I wouldn't be surprised at the end of this one if you have very little paint left. I'm doing really well on the colours. I still have lots of colours, but my black and white are, but I'm doing a lot more demonstration pieces than maybe you might be, but I'm just aware that your paint isn't going to last forever. So we're just going to do a lovely long fella here. Okay, and this one I think I'm just going to go nice and gentle like that. Now, this one, because I've got some room here, I am going to do the tail. I'm going to bring a bit of that orange in, and I'm going to start far away and just get a line, and then I'm going to splodge it in more and more and more and more and more. See? So now I've got it thin at the end and thicker here. I'm going to do exactly the same here. Thinner there and splodging, bringing it in there. Bit of magic. Okay, so we got that fella there. Could do with another red one, so just going to scratch that off there. Make sure that you can see what I'm doing. And I'm just going to go for something a bit odd. I'm going to go for something really quite round and give him some eyes at the top. So I'm just going to go like this. If you think I'm making it up as I go along, I think you're right. Well, I do know what I am planning, but sometimes it's just nice to have a little bit of play when you're actually on the paper. So just doing that. I think I'm going to have to pull out a little bit more red, and I'm going to go just all the way to there. And you'll notice that this one, where are we? I have to stand up. You notice that this one is, in terms of my finger, probably ½ an inch, something like that. So I've got that, and I'm actually going to go more yellow because the yellow and the red will mix and give us some nice other colours. So I'm just going to play at getting this in the middle. It's almost turning into a flower, to be honest, like a rose. And that's the great thing. That's what I want you to do, is to kind of play with it, because it's only when you play with it. So I'm just going to go for a little kind of mouth here. It's only when you play with it that you kind of go, oh, okay, I can see what I can do with that. So I'm going to give this fella, I'm going to give him a big long mouth here, like that, and just bring that in, like that. I'm going to bring it a little bit more like that. And I'm going to give him, see, I'm already going back for more red paint. What you'll find is that you can use your paints, but I am going to come back and use, can you see that bit? No, you can't. I am going to come back and use those bits in a minute so that I don't waste things. So I've got red and yellow here, and I'm going to just have a really, really kind of flowing tail here, and I'll be coming back because that tail will be much wider, but I just wanted to kind of get it to kind of belong a bit. And I'm taking some of that yellow there now. There we go. I'm just getting some nice blending of those colours. A little bit more of the yellow there. Just having a play. Okay. So this guy's mouth I just think is hilarious. So I'm going to even bring it out a little bit longer, just because he's and I'm going to give him some big bulgy eye on here, which we can do something with in a little while. Just give him some gifts so he can see all the little fishes and all the little grubs so that he can eat them. There we go. So that will be an eye on there, a peculiar one. Oh, and there's those anglerfish that have these kind of big kind of protrusion that kind of comes out like this, and they get these lights on their head. They've got these little things, so we're making them into a very peculiar individual. Okay, so let's ditch the red, and I'm coming back for a bit of this white, and just kind of getting a little bit of a mix, and I'm going to just put in some little fish here. That's just a bit, sometimes you get a bit of a kind of skin on the paint, and when that happens you just have to, sorry, so what I'm doing is pushing it down and just bringing it in like that. Like, so in essence what these credit cards are is a little palette knife. I'll just give them a little bit like that. And what have we got? I'm just going to use up the colour that I have on here rather than taking anything else out just at the moment. Okay, so I will come back to this one at the end because I'm going to take this away, but what I want to do is to show you how to put the fins on, and I'm doing the fins separately so that it doesn't merge with the colour that I've just put on, because this is currently wet. So I'm putting that to the side and taking back these crazy guys here, and I'm just going to show you what I did with the fins and stuff. So I'm going to take a bit of white and the red there. I hope you can see that. And so I'm going to start off with this guy's fin. And the nice thing is, you'll see, is that I can actually come in and on top of the fish like that, so that it really is part of it. Yeah. And then I take my magic very soiled old rag here and a little bit of water, and then because that paint is dry underneath, I can just clean back to that line, and it gives me a really nice feeling of the fish and then his fin. So where's my little, here we go. So I'm going to just kind of, I was going to say fish that one out and put it there, but I wouldn't be so awful as to use awful fishy puns like that, would I? Yeah, sorry. There we go. So again, I just have this paint on a table mat with some cling film over it, so anything like that works. So I'm just going to take this bit back again, like I just did, so that it cleans it back. Okay, and so just to show you a little bit around the eyes, etc. Just taking a bit of black, got some white. Where was my little thing here? So something like this, what I might do is just take this black, just dabbing it in there, and just making sure I've got that completely covered. Just giving it a little print like that, and then somebody beeping out there. What has the neighbourhood come to? Right, a little black eye there. I'm going to do black on here. So I want them to all have different kinds of eyes on there. Now this fella looks very peculiar. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take my finger and I'm just going to dab it into there, and I'm going to give him a kind of eye that's kind of above his face. There we go. So it looks very odd and peculiar, but I think, yeah, that's great. He's like a proper scary fella. So I know it's above, and that's fine. So I'm going to do just another one here. I just like that. Sometimes you kind of get the whim or the whimsy or the idea, and you think, well, why not? Let's try it. Let's have it, give it a go. So what I would do with this then is I would, oh yeah, so what I'm going to do with this fella is I'm going to just dip that in. Do you remember I was telling you about using just half of it on half? So I just need to make sure that I've got enough on that half, and I'm just going to give him, yeah, you see, it just brings it to life really, really well. I'm just going to go again because it didn't quite take on there. That's great, lovely. And this fella, actually, I'm going to put a ring all the way around him. So just kind of making sure I've got that all on there, which looks great. And yeah, he's great. And I'm going to do a tiny little tip of white in the middle because that will just add to it, just there. What else do I want? More of these fins. How are we doing on time? 19 minutes. Okay. Let's see. What did we have there? Red and orange. So that looks quite nice, doesn't it? Quite a flow. So I'm just trying to give my plan is to give them all a different kind of character. So just now what you will need to do is just have a play before you commit to your good paper. So just dipping in there into the water and just taking back where I've just painted that on so that it is literally just along those tops. So you can see what I've done. Other little things, little quirky things like this, just literally taking whatever it is that you have and just giving them, if you want them to have some kind of crazy quirky teeth. Yeah, it's up to you. Other things, so we talked about how to do different colorings and stuff on there. So let's just take a little bit of this blue because it's quite vibrant when we use that. And again, it might be that you want to do things like lines like that, you know, just to give them all a bit of personality. It might be that you, what else would we do? We'd maybe use the end of one of these, and you might decide that he's a spotty fella and build up a whole load of spots. The thing about this is play. It's about play, it's about building up something from your own imagination and having a bit of fun with it. And it's also about not being scared of it. So always, 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 oh, let's try a little bit of black. Always having, don't worry about not having a plan. It's good to have a plan, really good to have a plan, but it's also good to not be afraid of coming away from that plan. So I'm just kind of gonna go straight along like that. You can see, you know, this is a mean, he's a, what is he, cutthroat kind of fella. Right, so things like that. This fella, what would I do? Oh, I think he's okay. But you know, I don't want to spend the whole time playing because you need to do some of that yourself. So what I would do is that is really quite small now, that kind of black. So, you know, if you want to, always feel free to bring in a paintbrush if that's what you want. So I'm just going to take this black here and just make sure that there's enough water on it so that it moves around so it just doesn't dry out. So this fella, I'm just going to give a huge big eye around there. See, and it just transforms him. I don't know whether it transforms him for the better or for the worse, but I just felt that that tiny little eye, he looked fierce except for the tiny little eye. And yeah, so just adding things in. So go forth, have fun. And this is a 1 week project. And I will send you the images of this one when it's finished as well. I'll just add in some finishing like fins and bits and pieces. Okay, have a great one and speak to you soon. Bye.